or debunk some myths and some practical strategies so that you can support your children, your child at home. This talk is called Mathematics Learning in the 21st Century, and it's not going to be a lecture. We're going to have some discussions. I'm going to ask you every so often for some reflections and feedback. And so I hope the people listening in their cars or wherever they are at home are going to enjoy hearing some of the experiences from the parents that we have here. I'm going to start off with a game, just to introduce myself. The game is Two Truths and a Lie. Oh, yes. Okay, let's give them some time. Yes. We can probably have one big group. Yeah. Welcome. We're just about to get started with the game.
Thank you for coming. I know it's such a small group and we're talking on the microphone. It's for all the people that may be listening because we're live streaming right now. So hello everybody out there in virtual world. This is also going to be recorded. I hope that's okay with everyone here. So I'd just like to quickly introduce Dr. Chang Wathall, who is our math consultant, who we've hired on as a partner to help us grow and evolve our math program here at FIS. So she's already started to work with our team, and she will be our partner for the next couple years as we really grow and change our practice and get really deeply into it. So I know this is a really hard time, Wednesday at the eve of the break, but Dr. Wathall is coming in to work with the teachers on Thursday and Friday. So I wanted to take advantage of her presence being here on campus to have an opportunity for parents, but we'll have other opportunities over the next couple years as well. So I will hand it off to you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, we're starting off with a game, and that's how I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to show you 3 statements. This is called Two Truths and a Lie. So 2 of the statements are true, 1 is a lie. Maybe at your table, discuss which you think is a lie. You must be unanimous when you vote. Okay, and in my classroom, we don't have hands up. We're going to vote at our chest. 1, 2, or 3 is the lie. Okay, here we go. I was a former yoga teacher for 10 years. I was a former classroom teacher for 25 years. I'm the mother of golden dragons. So I'm going to give you a minute to discuss at your tables which is the lie, and then you're going to vote at your chest. I'm going to look for the mode, if there is a mode when you have 2 groups. Okay, seems like we're ready. Okay, let's vote. Okay, so this table's unanimous 2. So one table's voting 2, and this table's voting 1. Okay, what was the reasoning that you voted 2?
Well, we knew you had twins.
Okay.
So that made 3 a truth.
Okay.
Or a very likely truth.
Okay. Nice.
And I wouldn't give you 25 years in class yet.
Okay. Oh, thank you. He said yet. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And you chose 1. Why did you choose 1?
It seemed like a very common thing that you could have been capable of in an easy lie. Maybe.
So process of elimination. Actually, 1 is true. I was a former yoga teacher. You can see I'm a little bit injured at the moment because I haven't been keeping up with my practice. I've been on the road for the last couple of months in Europe, engaging in my school partnerships. And I was here last month at the end of August. So I was a former yoga teacher, but I just I can't keep up the regular classes with my travel. 2 is the lie, but for the opposite reason. Thank you for saying yet. I was a former classroom teacher for 27 years. So I like to say I started at 12, but I didn't. And it was actually very difficult for me to leave the classroom. I taught 10 up to 18-year-olds, and I now teach at university, and I engage in school partnerships with international schools. So I have that privilege. And I am the mother of golden dragons, so everyone knew that was true, because in the Chinese zodiac, you probably know, Jaya, that there are 12 Chinese animals, and there are 5 elements. So 5 times 12 is 60. The golden dragon happens once every 60 years, which was the year 2000, because you have a golden dragon, don't you? Yes. So these are my golden dragons, and I was actually in Tashkent a couple of weeks ago, and a lovely teacher said, "Which one's your husband?" I was not impressed. I said, "The one at the end." And that's not the first time I've been asked that. Anyway, the old one at the end. So they're my golden dragons. There's somebody else coming. Let's welcome them before we get into mathematics learning and the 21st century. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So I wanted to share a little bit about me as well. As being a former classroom teacher, I'm based in Hong Kong. I teach at the University of Hong Kong when I'm there, and I walk up the peak every day. So my backyard is a mountain where I get to enjoy nature, connect with nature. And as I'm walking up the peak, you can see that middle picture is a wild pig. There's lots of wild pigs on the way up. The top left is me literally forest bathing and enjoying nature. And I also am enjoying eating my way around the world. So you might have sampled some nice delicacies from Hong Kong, but some of the nice things that I've sampled here is the green sauce, which is, I have it on everything. Okay, so a little bit more, yes, besides teaching at the University of Hong Kong, I was part of the curriculum review group to develop the new mathematics courses for the diploma. So we really tried to focus on more teaching for deep conceptual understanding at the diploma, because I said to the IB, if we don't change the guide, if we don't change the syllabus, we're not going to encourage a change in practice in teachers. So we are trying to focus more on deep conceptual understanding. And these are my 2 research areas, educational technology and teaching for deep conceptual understanding. Now, I want to start off this evening with a very important quote by a professor from Denver. He said, "The essence of mathematics is not to make simple things complicated, but to make complicated things simpler." And sometimes when you speak to students, they think that mathematics is something that's really complicated that only certain people can do. And I really want to debunk some of those myths this evening about how everybody is capable of doing mathematics, but it depends on how we define mathematics and what that is. So I have 3 guiding questions that are going to kind of give us the pathway forward this evening. Why do we need to teach for deep conceptual understanding? Focusing on that first. What is concept-based mathematics? And what are some of the myths about effective mathematics learning, and maybe some practical strategies that you can use with your own children? Before we get into why do we need to teach for deep conceptual understanding, can you please talk at your tables? What was your experience of learning mathematics like at school? What was your experience like at school when you learnt mathematics? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to talk. So, would this group like to just share maybe a summary of some of the experiences? Was it good? Was it bad? What were some of the adjectives? I might have to invite you to pick up the microphone. Oh, yeah, there's one there.
I did IB mathematics myself way back when. So my experience was that it was not so much, as I hear from others at the table, that it was practicing, and learning formulae off the top of my head. We did focus on trying to understand the concepts behind it.
You did?
At least that's how it was understood, taught in my schools.
Okay.
But probably not to the extent that you're about to demonstrate.
Okay,
So.
lovely. So lots of practice, lots of memorizing formulae.
No,
There wasn't.
No, it wasn't. I had formula sheets in my IB exam.
Yes, and there still are.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad to hear that, mathematics is not about rote memorization, because even at the diploma level, there's a formula booklet that's 30 pages long. We don't want to focus on low-level thinking and skills and memorization. Excellent. So a positive experience. Anyone at your table have a negative experience?
I was pretty good at math, so I
Oh,
enjoyed
wow.
it.
Okay, so you're really fortunate, very fortunate.
Yeah, for me as well, I really enjoyed math.
Nice.
Even it's like the traditional method, we practice a lot, but
Yes.
yeah, I still enjoy learning math.
Great,
Yeah.
great. Do you know how unusual that is? When I ask a room full of adults, maybe we'll go to this table. Yeah.
Mostly memorization was probably the key,
Right.
what we were taught,
Right.
most likely.
And was that fun and exciting and engaging?
It just got you through, right? It just got you through.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to push a different
Yeah.
narrative would be good. So.
Hopefully something that's more engaging,
Yeah.
more motivating. Anyone else at the table have a positive or negative experience?
Kind of mixed, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes.
Again, like Remco, no memorization. We had all the formulas ready. We
Great.
tried to understand the concepts.
Yeah.
It varied a lot between the different teachers that I had and in
Yes.
between the different fields of mathematics.
Yes.
So, for instance, I still suck on trigonometry until today,
Right.
but I know I don't know how to say calculus very well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's like and the higher level that I had to go, and I had to go in the university, I was more struggling.
Wow, at university, but pretty much enjoyed some topics and struggled with others. It's so unusual to speak to parents who generally have had a positive experience, because I give a lot of parent workshops. I gave one last week in another international school, and the majority of parents had really bad experiences where they said it was boring, a lot of practice, drill and kill, I call it, a lot of maths anxiety as well. And some parents were sharing with me that their children experience maths anxiety, which is something that is spreading, I think, depending on, I like how one of you mentioned, depending on how it's taught, right? Depending on how the subject area is taught. So it saddens me when I hear of lots of students experience maths anxiety, and even adults. I was talking to a head of school, not this one here, but a head of school at another international school, and he shared with me how he was very anxious if given any kind of calculating problem, anything to calculate. And if you ask a mathematician what mathematics is about, we will not say it's about computation or algorithms. It's actually about beauty and elegance and creativity. But somehow, when we teach it in schools, it hasn't been approached focusing on the creativity and the beauty and the elegance of the discipline. So, a little bit of research, 48% of young adults in work apprentice positions suffer from maths anxiety. That's quite an alarming amount of people in society. So that's why I say here, we're in the minority. The majority of the world actually experience a lot of maths anxiety. And even in my work with adults, sometimes we'll be working through a maths problem, but it will bring a teacher back to very bad memories they had as a child, and I'll have teachers actually break down because of those bad experiences. So that really saddens me that that happens. And there's research to indicate that there's this big, robust negative math anxiety performance link. So the more anxious you are, the less likely you're going to perform well. The same part of the brain lights up when you see snakes or spiders when you experience math anxiety. Isn't that alarming? That's how, a child or an adult is feeling. So those two red little bits in your brain are called amygdalae, and they will light up when you're scared or you're experiencing some kind of math anxiety. And my goal is to ensure that nobody experiences that kind of anxiety when they're learning mathematics, to really appreciate the love and joy. So the attitude here, it seems that you have had positive experiences in general, and that means that you're probably displaying positive attitudes towards your child, which is a really great thing. So based on cognitive behavior therapy, what you think, what you feel drives your behavior. So if you had positive experiences with maths, you're probably not saying to your child, I wasn't good at math, so don't worry about it, I hated it, you're just not a math person. You're not giving those negative messages because you didn't experience it. So it's very important that we think about the message that we give our child when it comes to mathematics learning, because all our thoughts, all our feelings drive our behavior towards our children. The other important point I want to make is about positive relationships. And it's such an honor and a privilege for us teachers to be teachers. If you ask any of the teachers here, they have a passion to be in the classroom. They love seeing those light bulb moments. And building a relationship and earning trust from your students cannot be built over a textbook or an AI or a video. So, teachers will will never be made redundant. We'll always have a place in society and valued because of the human qualities that we bring of compassion and care for your children. So it's such an honor and a privilege to be a teacher. And I always remind teachers of this, so I'll give you a chance to read this. High quality teacher-student relationship is the most important and effective ways to promote social and academic performance development. So building relationships with your children, earning trust and respect is really important if we want to be able to engage your child. Okay, so at your tables, I'm going to just invite you to discuss. These are the top 10 skills that the World Economic Forum released for 2025. In your tables, could you please discuss which of these qualities would you like your child to develop and why? Couple of minutes. It's easy to see. Feel free to take a photo and then enlarge it on your phone. Is it blurry? So which of these skills would you like your child to develop and why? maybe suggest your top 3 and why. Shall we share? I'm really interested to hear what parents value in terms of skills. Maybe this table, please.
Well, I'll go with the first one. I think overall is the resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility.
Yes.
Because I think you can handle most situations if you've got that.
That's true. Actually, if you have that, you can handle any situation, right? Especially in this kind of, I call it a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's ambiguous, it's complex, it's what's the U stand for?
I know what you're talking about, I can't remember.
Volatile. It will come to me. But if your child can handle stress tolerance and be able to self-manage, then they can actually deal with anything, right? Any other skills? Critical thinking, okay. Fake news, yes. You want your children to have those critical thinking skills to discern fake news and to decide for themselves, right? What is truth? Yeah, and this table? Uncertain is the U. Uncertain, yeah.
I think I would agree with resilient stress and tolerance.
Okay.
I think in general, if you're able to teach yourself resilience, but also the other green one, active learning and learning strategies,
Yes.
it's the basis for all the other ones, really.
Yeah, nice.
And I think if you can manage yourself,
Yes.
and learn to work with people, that leads to problem-solving abilities.
Beautiful.
And in the end, technology use and development comes from it. And in the end, you don't need to be a specific expert in technology use if you've got the other 3 skills.
Yeah, beautiful. Excellent. So I think the consensus here is, did you notice the color coding? So the color coding of self-management was seen as something that you really value in your child, that you want your child to be able to develop resilience, stress tolerance, flexibility, active learning, and learning strategies, because then they can actually then develop critical thinking, problem solving. Now, here's another little bit of research asking companies what skills they wanted their employees to have. And these are the top 5 skills. They wanted critical thinking, problem solving, information technology, teamwork, collaboration, creativity, innovation, and they wanted diversity with their teams. This is what employers want. Now, you don't see mathematics on that list, do you? So I was very curious. I wanted to see where mathematics was on this piece of research. So you see the top 5, critical thinking, problem solving, information technology, teamwork, collaboration, etc. Mathematics is number 13, but I see that it's above writing and English, science, and government and economics. So maths is above even humanities and geography. I would argue, however, that mathematics really is a vehicle to develop those top 5 skills, right? Mathematics and all our discipline areas are vehicles to develop critical thinking and problem solving. Information technology, we can use technology to enhance learning. We can use teamwork and collaboration. We can be creative and innovative with mathematics, because that is what the discipline is about. And all our discipline areas can actually develop these. So that's a little bit about the why. You know, why do we want to teach our students for deep conceptual understanding? Because ultimately we want to develop these skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, self-management, stress tolerance, so that they can be prepared for this dynamic, unknown, exciting VUCA world. Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's come to me now. So the second question then I wanted to discuss was, what is concept-based mathematics? So I released this book a few years ago, and it's a framework for teachers to develop unit plans that focus on teaching for deep understanding. So how is concept-based mathematics different to traditional curriculum? This is based on the work of my mentor, pioneer for concept-based curriculum and instruction, Dr. Lynn Erickson, and I think she's done lots of work in the past with the faculty here. And she uses this diagram to illustrate the difference between a 2D versus a 3D model. So the 2D traditional model focuses more on facts and skills and is shallow, but a 3D model uses the facts and skills as a foundation to build conceptual understanding. And I'll just go through a couple of points in terms of the 2D versus 3D. So 2D, as I said, is shallow, it's inch deep, mile wide, whereas a 3D model, the concept-based model, focuses on ideas and important themes. And the facts and skills provide a foundation to understand conceptual transferable ideas. The 2D model is intellectually shallow, whereas the 3D model, we want to engage students' intellect. In the 2D model, there's an inability for factual information to transfer. So facts are locked in a particular time, place, or situation, but concepts and conceptual ideas, they transfer and they allow the brain to make connections and see patterns. And basically, the 2D fails to meet the intellectual demands of the 21st century, what the World Economic Forum want, what employers want from their employees. And the 3D model develops the intellect to handle a world of increasing complexity and accelerating change. So I'm going to pause again to give you a moment to digest, and I've got another question now for you. In your groups, discuss what 2D versus 3D curriculum design models mean to you, and how can you support your child? Okay.
Are you wishing you were watching instead of...
I said, how do you support your child? And he said, I don't know. And I said, he said, don't be negative. And I said, oh, so don't say, I'll Google that. Let me Google that.
What was talked about here? Maybe we can start sharing.
I was hoping to get some examples. I didn't get... Yeah, I was just saying from in my house, which my daughter is off to university now, so there's not going to be any more table conversations, but what we would talk about is just real world experiences that we've had, and my husband's an engineer, so being able to bring it to like the adults' real life situation, or being, hearing what they're learning, engaging with them with that, but then bringing it to, oh, I totally know what you're talking about when I did this, and really kind of sharing your experiences is so significant for kids, and they get so excited. We've done many student surveys. FIS really loves to do surveys, as you probably know. But it's interesting because questions around personal finances, taxes, like kids are really hungry to understand what the adult world is like. And this is just a wonderful opportunity to be able to, show them the transfer there.
Yeah, great, wow. Any ideas here? Okay. Maybe there'll be ideas after I give you some suggestions. Okay, so sometimes there's a little bit of a misunderstanding about concept-based curriculum and instruction, in that there are two camps that are quite polarized. One camp that says you have to teach the basic facts, drill and kill, and you need to know facts and skills. And then there's another camp that says, actually, you only need the big ideas and the big understandings. But that's a false dichotomy, because, in fact, you need both. And that's why that 3D model has the facts and skills as a foundation. So we still use the content in mathematics to develop conceptual understanding. We don't sacrifice any content. We have to be able to know and do in order to understand. They go hand in hand. And we create a synergy between the facts and skills and the conceptual understandings using inquiry. So that's when inquiry comes in, where we allow your children to explore, but with careful scaffolding and prompts, because there's a fine line between frustration and challenge. But we want your children to be independent thinkers, to be resilient, to be able to critically think and develop their problem-solving skills. So the inquiry process continuum with careful scaffolding will develop those skills in your children. And I like to use this analogy of traditional maths being like if you learnt music with only playing the scales and never appreciating a full piece of music, being able to play a piece of music together. Or imagine if you were playing basketball and you only just learned all the drills, but you never actually played a game of basketball. Traditional mathematics sometimes is taught like that, where we focus on the algorithms, memorizing facts, without the appreciation of what mathematics as a language of conceptual relationships, what it can do. So, okay, I'm going to give a summary now of what I think concept-based mathematics is about. It's about patterns, supporting students to pattern seek, and then allowing them to generalize through exploration and careful prompts and lesson design from us. Mathematics is about creativity. We want to foster joy and creativity when learning mathematics. Concept-based mathematics, it's about beauty, allowing learners to appreciate the beauty of mathematics. So that means that we give your children a problem that maybe just doesn't have one answer. It's very much open-ended, and there's lots of answers and lots of pathways, not just one right, one wrong answer. The concept-based mathematics is about helping your children understand why, helping students understand why they're learning what they're learning, and also helping your children to understand that mathematics in the topics is all interconnected. So in other words, algebra is connected with geometry, and handling data and statistics is very much related to number and algebra as well. So all mathematical topics are very much interconnected, and we design units with highlighting and showcasing the interconnectedness of mathematics. Okay, I'm coming up to the fun part of the talk, which is about the myths now. And so we're going to talk about, let's see, I have 2, maybe a bonus one, 3. Yep, we've got plenty of time. So what are the myths? The first myth that I would like to debunk is myth number 1, practice makes perfect. And I think we've heard this before. And I want to share some research with you in why practice does not make perfect. First of all, imagine that you're, driving on the road and you've been driving to work every day, and you come across another driver who's been driving on the road for 10 years and they're a really bad driver. They have been practicing their bad driving for 10 years. And they're still a bad driver, right? So practice does not make perfect. And here is the problem, I call it with drill and kill. So some research. Once students have memorized and practiced procedures that they don't understand, they have less motivation to understand their meaning or reasoning. And we want our students to deeply understand the mathematics. And also, there's another problem with the drill and kill. There are 3 ways in which drill and kill interferes with conceptual development. So what are those 3 ways? 1, cognitive interference. The second one is the attitude, interferes with their attitude. And the third one is metacognitive interference, which is when we ask your child to think about their learning, reflect about their learning, it interferes with their own metacognition. So I just want to emphasize that frequent drill and kill with no understanding blocks conceptual understanding and also gives students the wrong impression about mathematics learning. Drill and kill encourages low-level perfunctory thinking. But I know it's something, when I was giving this talk a couple of weeks ago, the parents were saying, but I give my child, 50 problems because I want them to practice. If they don't know their times table, they need to practice. So I'm not saying don't practice at all. What I'm saying is purposeful practice makes perfect. So that bad driver has been driving and practicing badly. We can practice our mathematics skills in a more purposeful, meaningful way. How can we do this? So I'll give you a chance just to read that. So we want to stimulate curiosity and enhance the incidental learning to increase motivation. So there's a difference in practices. So at your tables, I'm going to ask you to discuss what do you see, think, wonder in the 2 different types of practice we have. What do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder?
Secure for them. I think left is secure, right is more adventurous, but right will have long-term result, and left will have short-term result.
My friend also, she studied in Bucharest, and she said she had an excellent.
But I think that also depends on where you're being taught, because I've been taught more on the right-hand side than the left-hand side, but I have had discussions.
The only thing I was taught,
So-
the only thing I was taught on the left is memorizing my times tables.
Yeah.
And everything else was done.
Yeah. And so I think, but I've been speaking to, as you know, all parents here in school are greatly involved in math, talking about the perception of math. And a lot of cultures are very focused toward the left. I'm very surprised that the school doesn't do the left. They don't perceive the school doing left as much as the dynamic practice, and
So
they get.
because a lot of parents don't read what the curriculum
Yeah,
is.
that's also high from.
About the different types of practice.
Well, I noticed for myself, I mean, the only thing I ever learned by rote was times tables. That was rammed in, and everything else was dynamic.
Wow, you're very fortunate, can I say? Very fortunate, yeah. And did everybody have this experience? No?
Well, it's not. I had also more the same as he had, but we have similar educational backgrounds. But what I see with talking to parents from different cultures who are also in the school, as a lot of them are getting slightly frustrated because they don't see the rote practice they had themselves being reflected in the curriculum, and then they get a bit anxious, maybe is the word, about if their children are going in the right direction. And I think this is one of the reasons you're doing this meeting.
Exactly. And I'm preaching to the converted here. I didn't. So all of these points, are really for the parents who grew up with the rote practice and are requesting more rote practice, right? Because here, it's like we're appreciating that the dynamic practice is leading to deep understanding, motivation, engagement. So I'm preaching to the converted here, I feel like. But let me give you an example. So let's say you did have the rote practice, more traditional curriculum. So here is a traditional approach, right? You've got lots of questions. Find all the factors. Here's 20 questions. Does that look really exciting to you? So how can we turn this into a more interesting problem? Which number from 1 to 100 has the most factors? So they're still looking at factors, right, of some numbers, but now the curiosity is there and there's more motivation and engagement because there is a purpose and a goal rather than just finding the factors of 20 questions. So there are lots of examples like that where we can look at the traditional approach and just change it with a question so that it's a little bit more engaging. Okay, I think I have time for the second one. Okay. Yeah. You sure? Was it this one? Yeah.
One of my biggest challenge with my younger child is that he's very competitive. He likes, and especially in math, and he's doing quite well. And whenever I'm trying to assist him, I'm more inclined to the dynamic practice. I'm trying to help him to understand why he's doing what he's doing. On the other hand, sometimes I feel frustrated because I said, oh, I would never be like those kids that are doing math from morning, from dusk to dawn, and I never get to that level. And he's quite, I would say, convinced that he's not getting to that level because he's not practicing the rough practice rather than doing the, and I'm trying to explain him that you get there only through the dynamic practice, and even if it wouldn't get to be like a perfect 100, the most important is how it will change the way he thinks about math. But
I wish all parents were like this, Joe.
But I'm struggling with him all the time. He's very stubborn.
But normally it's the opposite problem, that I'm convincing parents not to give rote practice, right? And trying to encourage, your child to understand why and the dynamic practice. Yeah.
I just wanted to share that we see students in the classroom when they are going through dynamic practice and they're struggling, they get frustrated. And when they get frustrated, they feel a lack of success. But you have to have that productive struggle to actually learn and construct the knowledge. But it's hard for kids. And so I think also, as parents, our kids come home from school and they say, well, my teacher didn't teach me anything. I worked all day on this puzzle and it was terrible. That level of frustration. So, I guess maybe that's something else that we can do as parents, is just sort of say, there's a reason why you're doing this, and you have to struggle, and then that's how you learn that resilience, isn't it? Because you made it through.
Yes. I feel like the parents we have here, Jaya, are all supportive of that. So hopefully this talk will benefit some other parents. I think that gives me time, actually, and leads in nicely to number 2. Myth number 2, do not make mistakes when learning mathematics. So if I give your child 10 questions and they get the 10 answers correct, has any learning happened? No.
We tell them at home that we couldn't care less about the answer.
Exactly.
We show the work again.
Can you please come and teach at this school? You are not typical parents, can I say? So, and I've given this talk many times, so that's why I'm a bit flabbergasted at the responses I'm getting. So, we want to value mistakes. In fact, it's not about the answer, as you say. Let's give you all the answers. Here are all the answers. The point is, how did you get there? Or here is a problem that has so many different answers. But how did you get there? What's your reasoning? What's your rationale? This is Carol Dweck. She is a professor at Stanford, and she developed a growth mindset. I'm not sure whether you've heard of that, but basically, yes. Do you want to add to?
We have her book. Because
yes, excellent.
Keeps stronger at us.
Excellent. It's the first time that I've heard that parents have got Carol Dweck's book. So if you don't have her book, please get it. It's called Mindset. Right? And she re-released it recently. Yes, a new one. She's a psychology professor from Stanford, and this is her in Hong Kong. So there's this billionaire, Chinese billionaire that started Tencent. I don't know if you know that company. Yeah. So he started a fund, an education prize and fund, and the first year Carol Dweck was awarded the fund. It was worth millions of US dollars. So she came to Hong Kong to accept her award, and it was for her research. And she talks about, and what you were talking about, Jaya, the neuroplasticity of the brain. So for many years, brain scientists thought that you had a fixed number of brain cells and that your brain did not change. And then landmark studies have shown that actually your brain does grow and change, and you can increase synapses, and you can develop your brain's capacity from a physiological point of view if you adopt a growth mindset, right? I don't know whether you want to share anything about things that you find important with Carol Dweck's book.
I like the connection that she makes science towards students.
Yes.
I think that's really cool because she uses numbers and research to actually teach us something. Yes. Because often things are just being taught and you have to kind of accept that the other person knows better, like linear thinking. Yeah. And she actually gives you the tools to think about it yourself. That's what I really like. And I actually gave it to someone at our Christmas book club exchange, and she was actually the perfect person to pick it because she has this math anxiety, and she's projecting it to her children. So she was the perfect one to actually pick the book.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. It's quite remarkable. This is a quote from Joe Bowler, who works at Stanford too. I'll give you a chance to read this. So we want to encourage that productive struggle, right? The grappling of ideas, not knowing what the answer is, not knowing what the pathway is, because we're living in a very dynamically changing, unknown world at the moment. So we want to encourage our children to really embrace ambiguity and build their creative confidence and grapple with ideas. Be used to not knowing the answers. So mistakes are part of the learning process and grow your brain. I still feel like I'm preaching to the converted. Okay, my last point, which I think is, should I even mention it? This is number 3, it should be 3. Memorization is key to successful mathematics learning. I think we all know that is a myth. The only thing you've memorized is the times table ever. As a mathematician myself, you know, I have a very bad memory because I like to work things out. So I won't remember all the formulae if I don't need to, because you're given the formula booklet, but you can actually work most things out. Most mathematicians are very lazy thinkers, actually. We're lazy and we're slow. We like to take a long time to do a problem and to think. Some of the biggest math problems are unsolved, or they've taken years to solve. So if your child can solve a math problem in 1 minute, it's not an authentic mathematics problem, right? Should be taking longer, yeah. Okay, so that was my 3rd myth. And then, yeah, okay, I'll just share a little bit of research on the PISA results. Not that the PISA results are the end or be all, but PISA results do show the lowest achieving students in maths actually use the memorizing strategy. In other words, those students who think maths as a set of methods to remember and who just try to memorize steps, right? But the higher achieving students, they think of maths as a set of connected conceptual ideas. In other words, conceptual understanding. They can understand that all of the mathematical topics are interconnected. So I do have some last words of advice that I think you're already following. So, number 1, my last words of advice. Ask questions that do not have one correct answer. Okay? Ask questions that require your child to critically think and engage their intellect. I think you're already doing that. 3, give your child opportunities to explore mathematics and be curious, because then they'll be more motivated. Maybe they can come up with their own questions. 4, foster a growth mindset yourself and be aware of your own feelings, thoughts, and behavior towards mathematics learning based on cognitive behavior therapy, because your thoughts and your feelings drive your behavior. And a very famous mathematician said, mathematics is not about numbers, equations, computations, or algorithms. It is about understanding. So, I want to thank you for coming tonight on a Wednesday night. Please feel free at any time to email me. They are my twins, when they were younger. And I want to share with you, actually, I'll leave with you this parent voice. So this is an email that I got from a parent after this workshop. It's quite long, so I'll let you read it. What a nice reflection, right? And this is the majority of parents that I meet. So you are very unusual, can I say? And I've given this workshop many times, so thank you so much. If you do have questions, please hang around. Maybe we'll just stop the recording.
Okay, thank you very much, Jenny. If we can just give you our small little round of applause. We're going to say goodbye to our parents who are watching us virtually. So if our tech team in the back wants to stop recording now and stop the live stream, that would be great. Did you guys hear me back there? Yes. Great. Okay, thank you. Bye. Have a great break, everyone.
This was a very unusual group,
Oh my gosh, I'm seriously, I'm recruiting you all. You guys are coming to every parent meeting I do now.